All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a special edition of Politics as Usual right here on the Ethos Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. I have a very special guest today, comedian extraordinaire. You will catch him on a stage near you, traveling in many different cities. You know what I'm saying? I've definitely seen his growth over the last, 10, 15 years, I think now. So it's been incredible to watch. You can definitely follow him on Instagram at Blain Hill on Instagram. Everybody, welcome Blain Hill. How we doing, sir?
What's up, homie? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's been about 12 years I've been doing stand up, so I'm
And what's
kind of
your
good
which
now.
I would say so. I would say so. As somebody who has been to a gang of your shows, I've definitely been to at least five or six of them. I would say at this
Yeah.
point, and to really be in the crowd and to hear you be always one of like the top two or top three people to get like the hardest genuine laughs from people in the crowd. You know what I mean? Because like especially at first, like I was going to like a lot of your open mic type stuff, and a lot of people they have like their friends that are there supporting them, and they're getting pity laughs and stuff. But like you would get genuine laughs, and so back then I kind of knew like okay, he's on to something with this. Like I think he might have picked the right path, and here you are now. You got shows all the time, and I'm seeing you, you headlined last time I was home. You were headlining your own show. So, what's going on with you, man? What's happening in your world?
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, I already appreciate when you come out to see a show. Yeah, I mean, I certainly sucked at the beginning, but there was like signs where, oh, this could be something. And then, it's like anything else, you just got to keep going at it and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And, after a decade and like a pandemic, eventually you get good somehow. And yeah, so and I've been lucky enough to get a lot of shows and bookings going on the road a lot too, so that's kind of cool. It's been good. It is a weird time to be in the industry of stand up, especially when I mean, we talked about it a little bit. The industry, the top of the industry kind of is like evil, but
Yeah.
you you don't
So I definitely want you to talk about that. So, like, what's the vibe, I guess, like in the world of stand up right now? Because you hang out with a lot of other stand ups, and comedians have always historically spoken their opinion on stage, and maybe through their sitcoms or whatever, they might like kind of hint at whatever their values are. But now you have like a circle of comedians who get huge numbers on their podcasts and on their streams and stuff, and they're actually like friends with the president. And a lot of people feel like they helped normalize him and help get him elected. What's your opinion on that, I guess? And then just what's your general feeling about like, comedians cozying up to the power, I guess, the powerful. What's your opinion on that?
well, I think like obviously this president is very bad and like in a crazy new kind of way that we maybe haven't seen in a while. But he I do think if you're a comedian, you shouldn't be friends with any president. Like no matter who the guy is, you probably shouldn't be cool with him because you should be like you should be make yourself available to make fun of this person at all times. Like that should be as an American comedian, the president should always be a possible target of your comedy. I think that's like he's the guy, he's the guy in charge for the most part, or at least the guy they say is in charge. So like he should you should never be friends with like you're essentially a lot of those guys ended up being like state run media propaganda tools, even like not just stand-ups, like you could argue Saturday Night Live or Jimmy Fallon helped too, like make Trump kind of palatable, or at least like keep him in the public eye when he maybe like he had nothing he still doesn't have anything to offer anybody, but like Jimmy Fallon didn't need to tousle his hair to make him seem like a soft, cool guy. Like or like Saturday Night Live didn't need to let him host like while he was like campaigning and shit like that. That's crazy. And then yeah, and you just see like guys essentially like opening for him at rallies and stuff, or uh like they're, I mean, that's a, it's part of the whole kind of right wing grifter sphere of like online guys too, because there's other guys who aren't in the comedy realm who are like, even like the manosphere guys are, adjacent to that. All of those religious guys, all these kind of weird right wing grifts that kind of propagate these bad ideas and make like especially young men think these ideas are kind of worth discussing when they're not.
And I guess that is an interesting thing, right? Like as far as the different various groups that kind of merge together, like the manosphere, and then like I see it in some aspects. Like I definitely see how like certain manosphere traits bleed over into like the people who would watch like a Joe Rogan, for example. Like that makes
Right.
sense to me. You know, UFC cage fight commentator who speaks to MMA guys and stuff like that. Manosphere, masculinity and all that kind of stuff. Like all that bleeds together, it makes sense. But then like when you throw church guys into it, then it starts to be like, okay, how do you guys fit in here? Like that's where I start to be like, okay, like what is the actual value system? Or are you just anti stuff?
I
You know what
think
I'm saying? Like,
I think that's a lot of it. I think it is, there's a lot of people on both sides, or like who would be considered on either side of the spectrum, who don't have coherent politics. I think that's where
yeah,
a normal person doesn't have coherent ideologies. They're kind of a case by case basis of what their thing is. Like they don't have hard and fast rules because they just don't think about the world like that, I guess. And also there's
it's almost more just like they have general feelings about how things should be, but they don't
right,
necessarily know like how to get there, but they have like an idea of what like how they feel like things should be, you know?
like when they looked up into that Luigi Mangione, when he everyone like the the action seemed to be coming from a sort of leftist view, but if you looked into what he read and all this stuff, not he wasn't like a hardcore leftist. He didn't have like a lot of, you know, especially socialist beliefs or anything like that. He was kind of just everywhere trying to figure stuff out. I do think that's probably what most people are. But then I just think that the people who are in like the specifically the right wing like grifts, they don't care about any sort of consistency or logic to their views or values. They'll, because they're still guys like the Rogan guys are talking about. Well, this Trump stuff's kind of crazy. Like they're saying it now, but like this is what you were. This is part of the what you were selling people. Like this isn't that much of a surprise from what we expected of this guy. You know.
Right. Like if you were really paying attention to his rhetoric, to his words, to the things that were being especially, I would say, touted at like his rallies and stuff like that, like the things that the crowd really reacted to. It was all of the stuff that we're seeing now, you
Right.
know?
And there wasn't there wasn't any material positive things that Trump was saying that you could like hang your hat on and say, well, at least he said he would do this, like lower taxes. There wasn't anything like that. It was almost entirely just bigotry was
Yeah.
his platform. And these guys try to pretend like there's anything else but that, or but like uh the anti woke, mindset, which a lot of stupid comedians have. Like you can't say anything anymore. It's like Joe Rogan, you make $100 million a year saying whatever you want. Like you can't say anything. That's the issue? And then when you choose to say what you want to say, it's not good. Like,
One of my
like
favorite jokes that I've just recently seen, it was this woman stand up, and she was like, every time somebody's like, man, you're a stand-up comedian, I don't know if I could do that. Can't say anything anymore. And then she always asks them, what do you want to say?
yeah, exactly.
And then they're
That
always, yeah, exactly. And I
yeah,
was like, yeah, that's my favorite shit in the world because that's what it is. Like, it's something racist or something overtly sexist or something. It's something bigoted in some type of way. That's the only thing you feel like you can't say, and it's because you know you're going to be criticized. It's not
you're right.
that there's going to be any real consequences. You're not going to go to jail. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, what do you mean you can't say it? Yes, you can. You're just going to be criticized, and you don't like
right.
that
And
part.
there's even guys who are credibly accused pedophiles who are still have like good active careers touring the country. Like uh there's if especially in that the anti woke thing, that's automatic. That's like you if that's your lane, you kind of automatically have an audience who's committed to you because they don't they know going in, I'm going to agree with everything this guy says, which is like kind of the worst audience to have. Or at least like it's not fun to have a bunch of people who you already know are going to like never question or never like resist anything that you have to say. Because ultimately you can kind of get away with saying like something that appears racist or appears misogynistic or whatever. But if you're funny and clever enough, you can kind of get away with it. But you have
Yeah.
to be good at writing jokes. Like, I have jokes where I set it up. The the beginning of the setup sounds like, oh, where's this guy going? This could be bad. Then by the end of it, you turn around, you make it funny, and it doesn't matter. Like, you just have to be like write good jokes. And I like if you talk to a lot of people who are fans of these like right wing guys who uh who are like the guys who are interviewing JD Vance on their podcast or whatever. Like they'll
Yeah.
all say, I really like their podcast. I don't really like their stand up. And it's like, well, then what are we doing? What's the point? Then you're Ben Shapiro, right? Like
When
you're
did
the
that
same exact.
happen? Was that is that a Joe Rogan thing too, or is that because it doesn't seem like it was ever that seems like it was like almost like a COVID thing when that happened. Like it seems like before that it was only Joe Rogan who was a podcast, but it was almost like he was looked at as a renaissance man because he was the cage fight commentator, he was the Fear Factor guy, he did stand up, he had the podcast. So it was like he just does some of everything. But then Andrew Schultz kind of did the internet podcast slash comedian thing. Theo Vaughn kind of started doing it. And then it's like, okay, like this is almost like its own genre now. It's like it's this weird blend. And then
I d-
they're the
I
ones who
do
are like really involved in politics. Like how did you know what I mean?
I think pre-COVID for like maybe late 2010s, it podcast almost became a requirement for comics just as a venue to like have something that people can like attach to them. Like so like if I did a show, here's a thing that you can listen to keep up with me and keep up with my
Yeah.
shows and like that kind of thing. And then I do think once COVID hit, I think those guys were already kind of going that way anyway, because
Hmm.
they're rich. So that's that, and a lot of people don't want to hear this probably, but if you are a lot of people who are successful in comedy were already rich, uh, because it costs a lot of money to be poor for a while you're like struggling, and it also you do have to like spend a lot of money traveling and stuff first before you are like compensated or before you're like a draw and you're selling out places. You're gonna have to like spend a lot of your own money or your parents' money or whoever just to make a name for yourself, kind of. And then I do think like once COVID hit, ultimately I think is a lot of these guys made a rightward turn because they didn't want the lockdowns and stuff because that meant they couldn't do live shows and
Yeah.
they couldn't and they couldn't just admit that they were angry that their business was getting hurt. Like Joe Rogan was opened up that comedy club in Austin, and none of them could admit that they were just worried about their own bottom lines and their own like business and their own like paychecks. So they had to make it like a moral standing of them being against
Hmm.
these lockdowns when they could have just said, "Yeah, I'm worried about my making money," or like I don't. And I think that so they had to make it like they're doing a moral stance or they're like freedom fighters or whatever. And I think ultimately, I think it's true of a lot of people. Like it kind of uh, made them like just go straight full uh, Nazi essentially, like or at least like Nazi apologists and stuff. And they because they just couldn't admit I if we keep lockdowns, I'm not going to be able to do stand up or not going to be able to do live shows and all this stuff.
And then a lot of them, I feel like, also got, for some weird reason, they got real hung up on trans people and non-binary people. And like, I get having a joke about trans people or non-binary people because you can have a joke about any group and make it
Yeah.
funny. But for so many people to like make that almost like, I even get it with Chappelle. I'm not saying I like it, but I'm just saying I understand where it came from with him because it was like he felt, at least this was his excuse. Okay, you guys feel like you're supposed to be an untouchable group. I'm gonna keep fucking with you, basically. Like, from a comedian standpoint, I could understand that logic. Like, again, I'm not saying I like the jokes necessarily, but I can get him specifically being in that role. But it seemed like it became everybody after, or not everybody, but like everybody kind of in that Austin scene, and pretty much everybody that went to the Riyadh festival, like all of them probably have some sort of trans or non-binary jokes. Like, so it's like, why did that also become such a hang up for people, I guess? And like, what are the comedians like in the circles, not necessarily that you run in, but like comedians that you've been on stage or shared stages with at different shows and stuff like that? Like, do you run into that, or is that kind of a uniquely Austin scene type of thing?
I I mean, I don't think it's uniquely Austin. I do think it's like concentrated there. Like a lot of the people I run into, for the most part, I would say like 99% of them don't even talk about that shit because it's fucking not even beyond just the bigotry and how stupid a lot of it is. It's just hack at this point.
Yeah.
It's a tired trope. You're you're not gonna even just bringing it up. You're gonna sound like, oh well, somebody's already talked about this, or you still have some people doing the, oh, all these letters like about LGBT jokes
Yeah.
like that shit, and it's just like as a creative person, it's just a hacky premise to even deal with beyond the you know uh, punching down or whatever you want to say. But like, I think it is another. I don't know. Like, maybe these guys are influenced by like lobbyist talking points or whatever, because it's just like the culture war bullshit that's in the news, right? Like, this is just shit that
Yeah.
these guys want to talk about because they're never going to talk about like making our material conditions any better. So they're going to like divide us. Like at this point, like you say, like the Chappelle thing. I can't talk about transgender people, so that's why I'm going to do it. Well, could you imagine him doing that about like immigrants right now or something like that? Like,
Right. That's why I say again, I don't like it. I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying, from purely a logical standpoint
right.
of like, why you keep going at this, like, because I'm wondering, like, my question is more so overall about like the whole landscape, or like what seemed to be, at least for a little while, a big part of like their particular stand-up scene. It was almost like Mark Maron has commented on it, where he was like, people are like, oh, well, I guess it's my turn to do my trans joke now. And it's like, okay, well, why do you feel like you have to do that? You know what I mean? I get why Chappelle may feel like he has to do that. I don't get it with everybody else. That's more so what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
I think a lot of it is because Joe Rogan holds a lot of undue influence into the comedy industry, stand up specifically. So like if
Is
that's the
that
thing that
because he
he
opened or is that because of his podcast and the numbers and people are like, oh, I can use his show for a benefit, or is it because he opened the comedy club, or like, where does that influence come? Is it because he has a lot of money? Like, where does that
it's
influence come from?
it's all of it. I mean, the podcast at this point is could be like a star maker for stand-up comics. It would
Hmm.
like it could change your career if you did it. And then also he owns that club in Austin, which probably is like the most popular club in the country, I would imagine. And I know some people who work there, and I think they pay pretty well. So
Okay.
like if this is the guy who is not funny, or I mean, in my opinion, he's not funny. He's not like clever or smart. But this is the guy that is the one who's kind of deciding where the industry of stand up goes, based on, his accumulated power. So then
Yeah.
everyone, all these little toad wiener men, and it's mostly men, have to like appease this guy because they have no backbones. Like I know people who have moved from the Detroit area out there purely to like hope maybe Joe Rogan sees me, or like he could like be a kingmaker for some. He could. I mean, there's not that many people who have that kind of influence
Yeah.
in stand up, and a lot of people don't want to do the work themselves, so they'll just hope that somebody else gives them the rub.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, So switching gears a little bit, excuse me, switching gears a little bit. Obviously everybody's been seeing what's been going on in the news. In Minneapolis with Renee Good, with Alex Preddy. Rest in peace those two. Um, but at the same time, like you and I also had a conversation. We were texting the other day, and this is something that we have been speaking about for years, right? Like before the real crazy immigration crackdowns and stuff. You know what I mean? Because we can talk about, both of you and I are both pretty politically savvy. So we know that these deportations have been happening under both, wings of the, you know what I mean, of the government the whole time. They were calling
Yeah.
Obama the deporter in chief for a reason, right? So we know these things. But as far
Obama and
as,
Biden both had kids in cages and stuff. Like that was a part of that
yeah,
was a noted images from their time in the presidency.
100%, 100%. And we have talked about that in the past too. But when it comes to specifically like law enforcement and targeting citizens, like we have been outspoken about when it happens to black people for years at this point. You know what I mean? I say this all the time. The Mike Brown incident is really what sparked my curiosity and my interest full-fledged into politics. Like that was sort of the incident that made me like start kind of studying it and like really, you know what I mean, deep diving and figuring out what my ideology was and what I felt like was right and wrong and all of that kind of stuff. So why, in your opinion, as a white guy, people have eyes, you know what I mean? They can see, you know what I mean?
I'm
So
white, folks. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry to
yeah,
burst your bubble. I'm a white guy.
yeah, no, he's not just light skinned, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But um
and I'll preemptively apologize for everything that we've done.
thank you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, what do you think it is though? Like that we've seen Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Mike Brown, Sandra Bland, all these names that we could go on, going back to Sean Bell and you know what I mean? We can going back to our childhood, Malice Green, and you know what I'm saying? Like
Rodney
this is
King.
Rodney King. This goes back so far. And you know, why wasn't there any, general strikes when any of these other names happen? But the second, which again, tragic, and I don't want to take away from it at all. You know what I mean? That shouldn't have happened to either of them, and especially in the case of Alex Pretty, he's a hero in my opinion because he was trying to save somebody else and got his life taken. So I don't
Right.
want to take away from what happened to them. At the same time, though, it's like, why does it take two white people to get killed before a general strike, which is real action and something that can have real consequences, took place in like 80 cities or something like that, gets organized overnight? Why?
I
Why now?
Well, first, I think it is like a huge credit to black people as a whole that they aren't just saying, "Well, fuck y'all," like at this point,
Yeah.
because they rightfully could have, but they also, I feel like black people specifically, just because of the how much they're targeted by police, but the reason they talk about that shit is because eventually it will come to us, and it has, right? Because if you let it, people say this all the fucking time. If you let it happen to somebody, they'll just do it to anybody. So like, and it is crazy to me that it took it to actually happen for these white people to be like, oh wait, shit, these guys maybe have too much power and no oversight and no accountability. We can't be letting this happen. And I do think it is weird how many people, like, I hope that people are starting to see the connections between what ICE does and what like just regular police do. Like, and that it's kind of commonplace for this to be happening a lot. And this isn't like crazy different from like what we saw in the George Floyd stuff. Like, like uh obviously it gets heightened every once in a while, and the federal government is it's even scarier just because they have more power and resources to like to hurt people. But like, this is all like a connected system that wants to hurt and punish people and exploit them.
And the thing about it is also is we have to connect it not only what's going on here, but what ICE is doing, what the police are doing domestically with what our military does overseas. You know what I mean? It's all connected. So like, and it's interesting, right? Because we're cracking down on immigration all hard, which is mostly affecting Hispanic people. You know what I mean?
For
And
now.
at the
Yeah.
and but at the same time, we invade Venezuela, which is a Hispanic country, right? It's almost a mirror of what we do outside of the country is what we do inside of the country. And here's the thing. Here's the thing also. Um, one sec. So in the same year that ICE killed 30 people, 30 people were killed in ICE custody last year. Um, which is unacceptable, right?
Right. Shouldn't be
We've been
one.
so worried. But we're so concerned about that. Like we have to be able to multitask. That's another thing. Like that's something that we have completely lost because at the same time, about 1,200 people last year were killed by police. That these were unarmed people in 2025. Now this is, or no, I'm sorry, 1,200 people were killed by police. About 98 of them were unarmed. So there's no numbers as far as like, how many of those people were black, but, still though, just
Yeah,
going
we can.
citizens alone, police
Yeah, right.
killed 98 unarmed citizens. You know what I mean? And so ICE killed 30. So if you want to combine those numbers, that's 120 law enforcement killing people that you know what I mean? That they should have been killing, So we have to connect all of these things. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people act like this is such like a crazy mystery or whatever, but it's like, what do we spend our money on collectively? Like, as if you look at the budgets for cities or the budgets for countries, like a staggering amount of it is weapons of war, essentially,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like violence and the perpetuation of violence against like our own citizens and people across the world. Like uh, the we do it first in other countries, and then like our cops get training and hand me downs from military or like the IDF or something like that. And
Hmm.
if that's if this is all we do as a country is spend money on guns and weapons and stuff, and then all the only way we make money is guns and weapons and conflict, like this is a it's like we're like this is the economy, like essentially, like is to perpetuate conflict wherever you can. And I think also this is like the end of, as America starts crumbling, the violence gets directed inward, harsher than it's been before, maybe, I guess, or maybe just more people get
In
caught
your
under
face.
the, yeah, and more people get caught under the web of it, or under the thumb of it, whereas you could do out groups and target minorities before because people could safely assume that they were, well, it's not coming from me. But now, as capital has reached its limits, they got to figure out, well, who else can we get? And it's like, oh, we can get these white people, basically. I mean, like, that's who else, like that. That's how this country's been run forever. Is, well, we're not going to go after the white people, like, and that's kind of protected. That's kind of protected the status quo for as long as we've been around.
Yeah. But now people are feeling different about it because obviously that's not the case anymore. If at least if you're a white liberal, or like with Renee Good, I almost knew immediately, like, oh, they're gonna try to use the gay thing against her. Like the fact
Yeah,
that she's married to a woman, they're going to bring that up all the time as an attempt to demonize her. So that way it's like she's the other. That's why it's still acceptable that we killed her. She's not like a white person. She's gay and white. So it's
right.
different. You know what I mean? It's like there's that thing. It gives people, like, in a weird way, it gives people this little bit of like a reasonable doubt and I don't think that's the right phrase, but you get what I'm trying to say. Like it gives
Yeah,
them an
it's
out, almost like a way, like, to rationalize it, I guess, is more or less when I'm, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, because if it's
it's
just a
another way
regular
to
white person, it's hard to rationalize.
it's another way to say that, well, it's not going to be me because I'm not
Right.
that, or you know what I mean,
Then
like
that,
that
and
kind of
it's
thing.
hard to see that with Alex Preddy because he's a veteran. He works at the VA hospital, as a nurse. He's carrying a gun, Second Amendment, with a permit, which he's allowed to do. So, like, there's nothing really against him, and they've been searching. You know what I mean? They're looking up his internet history. They're doing the whole thing. They can't find any dirt on this guy, and everyone has nothing but good things to say about him. So it's like, now you fucked up now, because
Yeah,
there is no way to otherize him. He's just a regular white dude, and you fucked up and killed him. So now we're
even the
seeing general strikes. You know what I'm saying?
even
Like,
even the NRA is like, hey guys, chill.
yeah,
You're allowed to have a gun. You can't be, because that's what the way they try to demonize that him specifically was he had a weapon and he was going to pull it or whatever, or he's tried to
yep.
pull it, and like there's clear video
It was
showing
like
he didn't, and he was
they
disarmed
disarmed him
before. Yep.
way before he got shot.
And
So.
like yeah, so they can't, so this is a, I mean, this was a little out of the thing, but that's a fear that I have about like AI, right?
Mhm.
Is that because people want like there is also the thing of the news searching for a perfect victim, right? So they
Yeah.
want, because they'll, if there's any holes or any sort of sins in this person's past, which shouldn't matter, because
Shouldn't.
no one should be killed like that. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, there's people who should be killed, but not
Right,
not normal people on the streets.
right.
But like uh but like if there's any holes that they can poke, like the George Floyd, they try to say he's a drug addict and all that stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like, even if, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah, so what? If any killing by like government actors, state actors, is a collective failure. If there's no justice, especially, or like, that's like a failure of society, a failure of all of us. We should accept as like these are collective failures that we're all kind of in whatever ways, all kind of partly responsible for, I think. But like, yeah, and like, so they do that thing, the othering thing, and they couldn't do it with that guy. And so I do think there's going to be a point, and there's been posting videos of him like kicking a ice car,
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, so
and
kill him then.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up because there was two different incidents, right? Because he was at a protest. That was at a separate incident than the one he got killed at. So
right,
that was they jumped him, I guess, and broke his ribs at that incident. And then he went to the hospital or whatever, and then went back to whatever, this was another situation, the one that he got killed at, where he was again protecting a woman. Some ICE officer or border patrol dude or whoever it was shoved the shit out of this woman on ice and snow, and then he went to go pick her up, you know what I'm saying, off the ground, and then that's when they rushed him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like these were two separate incidents too. So a lot of people are actually thinking that he was targeted. So that's a theory that's going around right now, and it's not out of the question. I'm not saying it's a fact, but I'm just saying like it's not
I
out of the
mean,
question.
especially the way these guys are like taking pictures of people, supposedly loading them up to
Yeah,
like databases and stuff, and like that's the
with
thing
the
I
Peter
don't
Thiel Palantir shit, like
get. That's
yeah,
some
it's all
serious shit. Like how aware are they of your movements and stuff, or like you start to like sound like a crazy person when you talk about these things.
you
But
think so, but then you just look at everything that's actually going on. Like, look at where AI is at right now, like you brought up already. Like, that's already in a place that is tricking people into thinking real shit is not, or that fake shit is real shit. Like, it's that convincing to a lot of people now. You know what I mean? Like, there's still ways to kind of figure it out if you're savvy enough, but like if you don't know what you're looking for, like and you're not
yeah,
aware of the updates of technology, like if you're not even aware of the updates that are happening, then it's very easy to get fooled. Like you
and
know what I mean? So
there's no authority like in any like institution that is like worth trusting on these things.
right.
Like in media, they lie all the time. And if you're a right winger or a left winger, you can be like, "Well, the New York Times is fucking horseshit." Like, and you would be right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Right.
they like they can't state when people are like Zionist or something. Like they can't have like say speak in plain language about this stuff. They let some of the worst got people like write opinion columns on there that are clearly just propaganda for certain ideologies and stuff like that. And like so like why would I trust them to tell me when a video is real or not?
Right.
Like and that's because they've done that to themselves. So like now that's a this is like getting to a bigger picture of like us it's getting harder and harder for all of us to have a shared reality, and I think that's kind of intentional.
I think that's very intentional for sure. Like even just something that you just brought up right now. Like and this is something else that I wanted to get to. Like being able to call out a Zionist and everyone know what that means. You know what I mean? Like that should be a very clear distinction. I'm not saying Jewish person.
Yeah,
I'm saying Zionist. You know what I mean? Like that means something different. So it's like how
and
important is it to distinguish that difference right there and why like I mean so it gets into the shared reality thing because they twist definitions, they twist what different things mean, you know what I mean? So now you're anti-Semitic if you call out Zionism when really anti-Semitic means you hate Jewish people off the strength that they're Jewish.
yeah,
That's what anti-Semitism is, and that's not what anti-Zionism is. Anti-Zionism is being against the state of Israel because you don't believe in ethno states. You know what I mean? It's a very different thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how important is it to you to make the difference and for people to understand the difference? Because I do feel like there is a rise of anti-Semitism, but I feel like that's also intentional because of the way that they conflate the language. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do you think about like those things?
I think for the most part the only people who can't see the distinction between Zionism and anti-Semitism are Zionists, like as a strategy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? like that is an intentional strategy is to conflate those two ideas because it is a it's like a PR tactic. It's a way to get away from bad press. It's a way to like uh I don't know if you guys have those billboards in your in Arizona, the Jew belong billboards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like college used to be for losing your virginity, not for learning how to be an anti-Semitism. It's like crazy shit like that, which like I don't think anyone there is okay, sure, there is people who just don't like Jewish people. That's I'm not going to say that those people don't exist, but they don't hold like any sort of power or influence, you know,
And to be real,
in
most of those people are on the right. The people who
yeah,
just don't like Jewish people because they're Jewish, those people are on the right. Those people aren't on the
yeah,
left.
those are just white supremacists, and but
Yeah.
they still
That's Nick
some
Fuentes and Candace Owens and them.
right.
Like,
But it is funny how much their like goals and ideas overlap with Zionism. But that's because like Zionism is a like a right wing project. It's it furthers the interests of capital and imperialism and colonialism and all those things. Like it is just an extension of what you know America is doing for its entire existence, essentially. So like I think,
yeah.
and it's also like, so like it is weird how much like I mean it is also like if you see a picture of like a person who claims to be Israeli, they got like blonde hair. It's like, oh yeah, you're from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Like really? That's crazy. Like
Yeah.
so it is. I think it's just an extension of white supremacy, is essentially because like you in the 40s we created a country to protect our interests in the Middle East and put a bunch of white people there. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, and because if the original idea that we were sold on, or that the idea that we were growing, that we grew up being taught that Israel was essentially a safe haven for Jewish people, so that the Holocaust could never happen again. It's like that can exist with Palestinians being there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that, you can have a place where it's like, no, all Jewish people are welcome here and you're good. And if you want citizenship, you can have it and you can stay here and it's all good. You don't have to kick Palestinians out for that to also be the case. It's just like what people would refer to here as like open borders, basically, right? Like that's the idea behind that essentially. It's like, let's say, for example, that were a true thing that actually was happening under some presidential administration, right? President Blain, who, and he has an open borders policy, right? And he says, you know what? Because of because of slavery, and we never really gave black people reparations, we're going to allow anybody of the black diaspora to come to America. They have citizenship, and we'll hook them up with a jobs program. Anybody who wants to come. That doesn't then mean that white people have to leave or
No.
Arabic people have to leave. You know what I'm saying? That's
No.
just an invite to black people. Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
even the reason that we were told Israel exists doesn't make sense in the context of how it's, how Israel, exists in practice.
Also, has that ever happened before? Like in any, I don't think in any sort of like military conflict where they were like, "Oh, our bad. Here's a country." Like
Yeah, no,
that.
I don't think.
That's
No, most
never
countries are formed
happened.
like through losing wars, actually. Like
Yeah.
that's usually how that happens. Like you just lose territory that you used to claim, and it's like, okay, this is our shit now because we won the war. Not, okay, you guys were getting slaughtered, so here's a country, like you
Yeah.
said, to say our
Here's a
bad,
country.
basically.
Yeah.
And then how are you gonna give
That's
somebody else's country? Like that's the
yeah.
part too that like nobody likes to, it's just like the whole thing goes against like the simplest of logic. Yeah,
That
you know what I mean? Like
the
the under
thing that
the
that's
minimal
the thing
scrutiny.
is like even if you I think eventually, as Americans, we all kind of learn that the settling of America, we were probably not. We did it was bad what we did to the people who lived
Yeah.
here before we did that, right? And I don't see any like much difference from that to like the creation of Israel and the Zionist like project or whatever, right? Like it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
The Palestinians
To
were the Native Americans in that
Right,
situation. You're absolutely
they're
correct.
the indigenous people to the
The
land, and then
indigenous people, right?
yeah, yeah, and then people are another foreign group of white people come and decide, hey, no, we can make some bread here, so
Yep.
and it's also like I think that's perpetuated also by because people want to say it's about religion, but ultimately that's like an excuse for capital and
It's
like
racial.
profiteering. But I mean, like even those things are still like divisions created to make money or to like to give like
Yes.
moral and ethical justifications for these terrible things. Like
Yes, but that's what capitalism creates, though. It's all
yeah,
born. Capitalism is just it is ultimately a tool of white supremacy. Like if when you just boil it down to what it is, like capitalism is a tool of white supremacy, at least in practice. The
I think
theory
it might be
behind it doesn't have to be necessarily, but in practice, it always has been. And the most successful capitalist countries are always the most exploitative. You know what I'm saying? The United States, of course, being one of them, Israel, of course, being one of them. You know what I'm saying? Most of Europe, they do their exploitation of the global south, but it's still exploitation. You know what I mean? Like, so at the end of the
yeah,
day, that's what capitalism creates. Like, and so for a human being to not feel evil and not feel like a piece of shit, they have to be able to justify it. So that's where the racism or the
right.
religious persecution, things like that come in. But then
The
religious persecution is even more powerful, I think, because if you can invoke God into it and you can like truly convince people that this outside of time and space being that controls everything is on your side, you know what I mean? Like then it becomes this other thing. And I don't even, like I said, I don't even think it's necessarily religious now. It's more just racial. Like you see brown people and you think, ew, Muslim. Or, you know what I mean? The opposite side, I'm sure, is true for Palestinian people. They are probably scared of white people. Like, oh shit. Like, is that one of those Israeli fucks they're coming to kill me? Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? Like,
I think growing up as a when 9/11 happened as a kid, like we were essentially fed the idea that brown people and Muslim people are that's like almost synonymous with the word like terrorist. Like that was
yeah,
kind of like if you wanted to draw a terrorist, you just draw a guy dressed as like a devout Muslim.
that's
Like
it. And we
that was
went to
how it
school with
was.
so many of them. And it was like, I remember because that was our freshman year. And I don't know how it was exactly at Farmington, but at Harrison, it was more like that first couple of weeks, like with the school officer still clearly was like looking at black kids like we were going to be the troublemakers. And then it was like almost over, like as soon as 9/11 happened, all of a sudden that attention was directed at the Middle Eastern kids, like, and us still, like, you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But
They weren't letting
like
you
we
off
didn't
the hook. Yeah,
we weren't all the way off the hook, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But like, it definitely was like, oh, they're looking at them now. Like, and I like noticed it. You know what I'm saying? It was
yeah.
like, damn, like they've been here the whole time. Like, why you know them? Like, was it like that at Farmington too?
I don't. I think we weren't as diverse as you guys. I think,
Okay.
which is unfortunate. I also think like yeah, that stuff happened, and I think that's like because they're also those countries are very far away from us, and they're not like countries that we're gonna visit as like tourists.
Right.
It's easy. It's easy to. It's like the way that country folk talk about like cities in
Hmm.
America, where it's like this is Chicago is a war zone. It's like
Right.
it, there's like maybe there's some bad blocks that you go down, or even
Exactly.
like
I was gonna say that's
De-
like a few areas.
yeah,
Like,
Detroit is you could get shot in Detroit. It's like not really. It would be very hard for you to get shot in Detroit most of all because there's not that many people in there, and it's pretty big, like as a land like area, and like if you're
Most
getting
people
shot,
who
that's
get shot
probably
in Detroit, you're involved in a situation that would likely result in somebody getting shot.
yeah, yeah. You're
You know what
just a
I'm
drug
saying?
dealer or
Like
something. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like you're
there's
involved in a
something
criminal activity.
criminal. Yeah, it's like there's some street shit going on to
Yeah,
where that's a likely result that you expect walking into it. Like most of the time, randoms and civilians are not getting shot in Detroit. That's
and
not typical.
that's like how we do the othering here in this country, just amongst ourselves. So then to do it to somebody else, and that's like how we picture these Middle Eastern countries. When
Yeah.
I'm there's plenty of probably big cities that would look almost the same as like our cities. Obviously
Yeah.
there's cultural differences and stuff still, but they have stores and movie theaters and shit. Same shit we got for the
I
most
mean,
part. We're
not that
all
I'm
on
a
the
big
Xbox.
fan. Yeah, I was gonna say not that I'm a big fan nowadays, but like WWE goes to Riyadh. They were just there for Royal Rumble. That shit looks like any other American or British UK arena or anything. Like it looks
Yeah,
just they show shots of the city. The shit looks normal. You know what I'm saying? Now, depending on what country you go to over there and who is paying you to be there is where it gets different. You know what I'm saying? Like that, we don't have to necessarily get into that. Well, actually, I do. I am curious. What are your thoughts on the Riyadh Comedy Festival and the people who went there, especially the people with a lot of money who went there? I'm not talking about people who like you could maybe understand like damn you are like you did kind of fall off and you maybe need this little resurgence money that they about to give you. I'm talking about people are multimillionaires like right now and they went.
I think
What are your thoughts?
I think for the most part, the people that I saw in those lineups didn't. I mean, they're all varying degrees of successful, so I don't think anyone was like hurting crazy financially to. And the thing is,
So
a lot
nobody
of
could
these,
use that justification really.
I don't think
Like
so. I mean, but I also would have been like, because like Bill Burr was a big disappointment for me because I'm a fan of his,
obviously, yeah.
and he seemed like a guy who had some kind of principles behind what he said, and he was a guy who would say stupid things, but then he would admit sometimes when he was wrong, or which is like all you really expect out of a person, I think, especially when they're like have a big platform and stuff. You're like,
Yeah.
uh, but like when he came back, he tried to justify it, and I think that's probably also a condition of
Still to
doing
this day,
doing
he has not admitted wrong. He's like he'll just double down.
like and all he really would have had to say was it was a lot of fucking money that I wanted.
Yeah.
Like just say that. Stop trying to like clean it up. I do like if you the thing is like Tony Hinchcliffe, right, is a comedian and he did the DNC or the
Comedian.
RNC. Yeah, yeah, he sucks. But he did the RNC thing. He like did like a speech or a roast of people at one of those conventions, right? And so I would kind of equate the Riyadh thing to that, where like you're getting paid by the government.
Do
Like
you think it's
our,
different that you're allowed to make fun of the president at like the roasts and different things like that, whereas part of the rules over there are you're not allowed to make fun of the royal family?
I mean,
Does
I
that make
think
it different, or is it the money source in itself? Like,
I think when it's that much money, the source is probably not that much different. Like,
okay,
because if who is gonna have that much money to pay you? Probably some real piece of shit. Like that's like
yeah,
like you know what I mean? And like I I do think this the demonizing of Saudi Arabia. I'm sure. I mean, it's obviously not great, but I do think some of it is a little Islamophobic to a degree, where we see them as like, oh, these guys don't know how to be humane, and we are. America is just like a terrible place too. Like we're also not doing good, and not we don't treat our people right. But I just don't the people that speak on the Middle East as experts of it are crazy to me because I've never been there, you've never been there, and the only thing that you
Hmm.
hear about from that place, those places, are from our news sources who are fed that information by our governments and stuff like that. So like
Yeah.
I don't. It's the same way they talk about like people when they. Anytime I hear about like China, I'm like, I don't believe what you're talking about. You're a liar. You have no fucking idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, I just think like it is such a weird, murky thing to do, like integrity wise, that if you didn't like if you're already rich, why would you even bother? And
That's
then
what I'm want. That's my thing, I guess. Cause I'm like, I get what you're saying about Saudi Arabia, and I do think that you're probably right that there is a certain degree of Islamophobia that goes into people's criticisms of it. I think that's probably true. At the same time, they did do a genocide. You know what I mean? In Syria, you know what I mean? Like we know that's true, and we support that. So it's like I think there's we lobby more criticism towards them because they're the other powerful entity in the Middle East outside of
right,
Israel. And they're also our allies. They do our bidding, we do their bidding. So, and we know a lot of the evil shit that they do. I don't think people are necessarily criticizing the citizenry of Saudi Arabia because that I agree with. That's just cultural shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
they're an Islamic society, they do things their way, whatever. Like if it works for them, cool. But like when the government is involved, I think that's people's bigger criticism because it's not like I think people are really turned off of like the UFC and the WWE and stuff like that right now, specifically because of how tied in they are with the White House. It's different
right.
when Dana White, the individual, is just like, I like Trump, but that's not necessarily a reflection of UFC. That's different, I feel like. But now that it's all tied in and Trump, the president, is at UFC shit and they're talking about throwing a fucking event at the White House and doing all this type of shit, now it's like, okay, the UFC backs Trump. Now, oh, Triple H and Stephanie, the head of creative, he's at the White House. Oh, okay, WWE backs Trump, and they have Tony Hinchcliffe at every other show. Oh,
Yeah,
so they're part of the thing now. You know what I mean? So it's like, um,
yeah. By going to
it's
Riyadh,
so you know
you
what I mean. So I
essentially
feel like it's different in in that situation. Like it'd be different if like just a rich dude who happened to be Saudi Arabian threw a comedy thing and paid all of them. Then I don't think people judge it as harshly.
for
But it's
sure
like, no,
you're
the prince
becoming
paid you.
yeah, you're now a mouthpiece for the Saudi government, and you
And they've
could
all
like
been
they
doing that propaganda since they've been
right,
back. All of them.
and
Mary
they none
Spears,
of
like,
them
it's terrible.
none of them could come back and like be honest about their experience. I don't think like even what they've said is so kind of vague, and they because I think they do have agreements to where they can't like say certain things or
Yeah.
uh which is like crazy. And it's also like counter to everything that you're supposed to like, especially a lot of these fucking right wing guys talk about freedom of speech is so important.
Supposed to be
And
your
then
main shit.
yeah, and it turns out when that check comes, it ain't. So uh
Yeah.
like and then uh when people over here are criticizing the government and getting killed or getting disappeared, you are nowhere to be found. You have nothing to say about that. Because you didn't care because it's a guy that's not in your team that got hurt. And again, what has this been about more than anything is that if they will let it happen to somebody, it will happen to everybody if they can, because that is just a test run to see how much they can get away with until something happens that they can't fight or that they have to reckon with, because there's no reason for them to stop uh, taking advantage of this or like go overreaching or basically doing illegal shit because no one is stopping them. So if you think just because it doesn't happen to you that it can't, you are a delusional idiot. I think at this, like, I don't understand how you can look at anything in the world and be like, well, it's just that's just happening over there, or that's just happening to those people. It will never reach me. It's like, man, you better be the whitest, richest motherfucker in the world if you're thinking that, because I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, it's coming for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Um, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because you've been more outspoken. It seems like on social media, just posting different things that aren't necessarily just, ads for your next show or, different things like that, cracking like one-liners, stuff like that. It's been more like action oriented type stuff. So I guess my last question is what do you think what do you think truly needs to happen in order for the country to turn around in multiple ways? When I say turn around, I mean economically. Like how do we get people out of the holes that they're in? Like what do you think needs to happen to see that? Like um actually getting us out of the wars. Like what do you think needs to happen to truly see that? Like what is your remedy if you were the president and you were able to do things the Trump way, which is however the fuck you want to without going through Congress? Apparently that's a thing now. So if you could do that, what do you do to remedy the country?
Well, I like nationalize everything. First of all, I so everybody gets a piece of whatever whenever the America profits, the people profit. Like also like get like stop paying. If the military and the police were so good at their jobs, why would we keep needing more? Right? Like ultimately, if the military and the police were doing right, and they had like a just end goal for whatever their goals were, their goal
Hmm.
would be to eliminate the need for them. Right? That would
Right.
be because you would create a more peaceful world with better people in it if that was what you were genuinely trying to do. So why does it keep getting bigger and bigger? The it ultimately, I think if we took the wealth out of that, that would be great. We stop letting our Congress people do insider trading all the fucking time. Uh, there's also probably a lot of stuff that I legally cannot say on a recorded podcast that we should be doing to a lot of these people. But
Make guillotines great again.
yeah, but like, I mean, basically, communism, I think, is the only way to uh, move forward as a people and also protect ourselves from uh, this kind of like uh, the wealth accumulation that is happening in the world. Because I don't want my life and the world that I live in to be like determined by Elon Musk. That's so fucking depressing. How much
Yeah.
that guy has an influence over how I live like my day-to-day life, or like, Peter Thiel or any of
Yeah.
these guys. The idea that like there's like 6 to 10 guys who make
They just
decisions
run everything.
that ruin like the like, and they get to determine, and it's not like, I have a joke about this, like these guys aren't even like hot, you know or like they're not like even attractive or charming, charismatic people, because I could understand
They're
that
giant
a little bit.
weirdos.
They're nerds and like losers, and like you look at the Epstein stuff that comes out and all their emails, they don't even know how to like email each other. They're idiots. Like,
Man.
and they all, just because they have mostly through circumstances of birth, have like this crazy amount of wealth and influence.
I think
I would just
60% of billionaires, I think 60% of billionaires were born to millionaire families.
Yeah,
It's something like
because
that. So it's like, of course. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
and or yeah, and then either that or you're given enough wealth to invest it and that somehow grows, or but we've only the only real way that you can get that rich is to be like a military contractor, you know, like because that's all like Peter
Yeah.
Thiel and
Or to
Elon
just
are. That's how
completely or to just step on people. Like you have
right.
to be like ruthless in your wanting to crush competition. You know what I mean? Like that's really the only way to do it. You have to monopolize. That's the only other way I would say is to monopolize an industry. If you're able to do that, if you're able to create Amazon and make everybody basically stop using eBay and everyone uses Amazon because eBay was the first one, you know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah,
Amazon came along and just shut shit down. So now it's like everyone uses Amazon. If you're able to do that, Facebook, it was the same thing. That was the social media for a long time. You know, it's like if you can do that, or like you said, be a war criminal, or do whatever the fuck Jeffrey Epstein did. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like he did a little of everything. It seems like like
yeah.
I don't.
He had a hand in a lot of underage pies. Uh,
Yeah,
but or like, could you imagine what we would let them get away with if we had like free healthcare and rent?
right.
Like, how much we wouldn't like care about a lot of this shit. Like, or
Well,
let we would just be like, oh, whatever, because and they won't even give us that. Like, and they could very easily make like, rent and healthcare and like good
super
education.
easy.
All that stuff could be free, and they could still be terrible, evil people that rule with iron fist. Like, but
We
they
were
don't
talking
even
about that
do
on bar
that.
exam. We were like, if they invaded Venezuela for the oil and actually gas got cheaper and was like gas will never be more than $2 again, people would look the other way. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like,
Yeah,
it's fucked up, but hey, I'm
if you
not
could
paying
change, yeah,
350 no more. You know what I mean? Like if you can make some sort of rationalization or benefit to it, but we know that's not going to happen. We've been conditioned to pay 375 for the last 20 years. So it's like they're not going to make it cheaper all of a sudden. Like they're just going to take
why
all
would
the
they?
money for themselves and if you're not an oil executive, you're not going to benefit. Like that's the end of that story. So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
like if they gave us uh just a little piddly like scraps, it would be scraps to them. Just and change the material conditions of like everyone in this country, which they could very easily do.
Very
They could
easily.
get they could get away with a lot of shit without, you know, us giving a shit, but they just won't.
They
And
just
maybe they
refuse
couldn't
like
maybe they couldn't get away with it because like during COVID and stuff, you saw kind of what happens when people a lot of people have their base like because there was like a lot of rent freezes and a lot of people were getting unemployment, right?
yeah.
And what did they do? They went out in the streets and like protested, which I thought was like encouraging. So maybe they
Yeah, that's
couldn't do
true.
that. But like
Yeah,
I
because then we would be in a better position to pay attention to what they're doing, I think, because we wouldn't be so worried about, having to work overtime and shit to make sure that we have enough money for rent and food. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I think they keep us in such a predicament all the time to where if you're not well off, like, because they're really like the middle class is damn near disappeared at this point. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like either you're upper class or you're struggling. Like, that's just what it is now, kind of. So if everyone's struggling, then you're so worried about like what your next meal or like I said, making sure that you're going to make rent or be able to pay your car insurance or whatever the case is that you can't necessarily put that much focus into immigration also. You know what I mean? Like as bad as you may feel for the people who are going through all of that, it's like I got to go to work tomorrow. I can't be at the protest. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like I got
yeah,
to make sure
and
I get enough,
that's like
you know what I mean?
real.
Yeah.
That's real, and like there is a lot of like uh ethical things, ethical questions that people brush off simply with the phrase "I have kids to feed."
Yeah.
Right, and that's like that's true. Like
Yeah,
ultimately,
it's legit though.
that has to be your priority first and foremost because it is a you're just trying to survive, and so like you'll make ethical uh, like questionably ethical decisions because you need to do it. Or like it is so hard to find a. I'm trying to find like another day job. To find another day job where I'm not part of the problem is so fucking
It's
hard.
so it's so hard. Like I feel like I make a habit of not saying where I work on air, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but what I will say is in the job I'm in, based on the knowledge I have of the real numbers and like overall like scope of what my business does, being able to keep that in the back of my mind makes me feel better about the day-to-day tasks that I have to engage with, where I'm
Yeah.
constantly reminded of all the fuck ups.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like my job is dealing with all of the fuck ups and dealing with, the 2% of customers who are not satisfied from one reason or another, regarding, what my business does.
Right.
So, but dealing with that every day, even though it's a really small number because our customer base is gigantic, it's over the whole country, or, you know what I'm saying? It's over the whole country. So the only two states we don't operate in, I believe, are Alaska and Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah.
literally operate everywhere else. So, um, with that being, the case, it's like I have to keep in mind that we're not screwing that many people over, but we are screwing some people over in certain situations based on the way a contract is written. And maybe, it's just like a certain time thing. It's like, oh, you had this much time to do this thing, and we would have had your back, but the thing that you need us to have your back on happened outside of that time frame, just barely, but it's technically outside of it, so I can't do shit for you now. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like those type of situations. And it's like, no, I know we realistically could easily still do something for you, and it would actually be way easier to do that. But this is where the evil corporation bullshit kicks in, and it's like, nope, now you have to go through all these layers, and you have to know the exact right thing to say as a customer to get to the next level to actually get some
Right.
shit done. And you know what I'm saying? Now you have to go through all this bullshit to maybe get some shit, you know what I'm saying? Like to help out your situation. So it's like it's a constant struggle because I feel like a liar a lot of times. Like when I'll know some shit is probably not going to go a certain way, but I don't technically have the information yet, so I have to go like, no, this shit is going to be smooth. Like, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, it's probably not though. Like,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, but I can't prove that yet, so I have to just go with, you know what I mean? It's shit like that. So it's like it is hard to not be part of the problem. And that's part of what I've just had to come to accept. It's like I live in America. There's only so much I can personally control.
Yeah.
And I have to participate to a certain degree in the bullshit. Like I have an iPhone, it's made in a way that I don't agree with ethically, but I use the
Right.
bitch every day. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
Like I'm not a big proponent of AI, but Chat GPT can be very handy sometimes. Like, and I need to, we have to use AI at my job. Like, there's no way around it. It's built into the system, so I can't avoid it. So it's like I'm constantly dealing with like a moral dilemma of like I know it is wrong, but again, I got bills to pay. Like I can't get
Right.
evicted. You know what I'm saying? Like
And
what
that's
Dr.
like
Dre
a
said, because my rents due, and so you goddamn right, I'm gonna kick it or get evicted. Like that's me.
yeah.
Like at work, it's like
And
shit.
that's like real like I don't know if you saw uh the ICE they figured out they named the ICE agents who killed uh Preddy.
Yeah, I did
And
see that.
like
I don't know his name off the top or their names off the top of my head, but I did see that
it was
they got
two
their identities.
Hispanic names, which was surprising. But like if like how many of those guys just it was an opportunity for them to get some of the biggest paychecks that they've probably ever gotten that into in their lives.
Yeah,
Like and that's I mean it's not an excuse, but it's like that's like the
it's
stuff that
understandable.
people
You can get
have to deal with. Yeah, yeah.
going back to your that you can get logic in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I understand though. Like It's the same thing with the military. When people sign up for the military, if you don't have a plan for life at the age of 18 and your parents are like, you got to figure it out. I get why people join the military, even knowing everything they know about it.
Yeah, and
It's like,
like
oh,
it's
there's like a guaranteed paycheck, like, and you're gonna pay for my education, and like I'm not gonna be in massive debt getting out of school. All I gotta do is maybe do a tour, and like hopefully I don't get a leg blown off or some shit. All right,
yeah.
I'm willing to risk it. I
All right,
get it.
it's let me marry this woman that's gonna cheat on me before I leave. Uh,
Yes, but
yeah.
we'll have a
No,
house. you
yeah,
know
it's
what I mean?
you
Like,
you make people desperate and they will they have to make choices. It's the lesser of two evils, and sometimes not
yep.
even that. It's just sometimes they'll just pick the evil one because it's the only
Which,
way.
yeah.
It's
Which one is going to be
and
less
I
harmful to me?
right, yeah. And how do I keep surviving
Yeah.
regardless of how that affects other people? And that's just like the nature of the capitalism and stuff like that. I think I'm kind of privileged that I don't have to make a lot of those choices. I mean,
Yeah.
but and that another thing about like that's the Riyadh stuff again. It's like none of those people had to do that. I don't think, and it's
And I think
like
that's a
so.
big criticism. It's like,
Why
why?
would you? Yeah, yeah. And there was I know some comics like Stavros Halkias was pretty openly like I turned it down, and he's
Yeah.
like very successful, and he could uh, so he does he and you didn't have to. You didn't like this. What if they came to me in my financial situation right now instead of we'll give you six figures to go to Riyadh, I'm going to Riyadh. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
I'll fucking go because I that is life changing money to me.
But
Uh,
that's what I'm saying, though.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I would you have more sympathy for somebody in that situation? Like, if they
I
were,
wouldn't I wouldn't criticize that person. No, like
yeah,
someone who is not a already a $100,000 whatever a show person or whoever like
yeah,
someone who needs the money. I'm not gonna be as critical of, but
right.
all those other people are famous people who have
Hmm.
been in show business for a while, live in and work in the industry pretty regularly. So they didn't need to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, um, where are you gonna be next? What's the show schedule? Because you do a lot of shows now, man. Like you're constantly
Yeah.
promoting stuff on Instagram. Again, make sure you follow his handle. It's right there at Blain Hill. Find him on Instagram, cracking jokes. He's posting reels of his different stand-ups. And he's posting flyers, letting you know where he's gonna be, where you gonna be.
I swear I'm actually funny. I'm not like this all the time. Like
Yeah,
on
no,
stage, I'm
no, this
pretty
is
good. Yeah.
politics as
Yeah,
usual.
this is
So, I
politics.
had to pick his brain for sure, because he's outspoken about these things. And I think it's important, for again, like our white allies to speak out. And you do that, on your own, but that's why I wanted to have you on the show. Cause sometimes, it's also easier having the conversation with somebody to articulate your point versus, when you're just trying to think on the fly on your
Right.
own. So,
For sure. Yeah, I
but yeah,
appreciate
where
it.
where,
Thank
where are
you.
you gonna be?
Thank you for having me. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see the real shows. I'm going to be doing a show in Detroit on the 13th, a couple of shows. Then I'm going to be at the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak on the 19th of February. There's going to be more shows coming up, so just follow me on Instagram. I'll be posting stuff and updates. Mostly in Michigan for right now, but I'm going to be out traveling soon.
Where were some of the funnest like shows that you did outside of Michigan so far? I know you've been to like New York and Ohio and stuff like that, I think, right?
Yeah, I went to towards the end of the last year. I was in like Cincinnati with my buddy Brad Wenzel. He's a really funny comic. Took me on the road. We did that. We went to Virginia and Tennessee. That was pretty
Mm.
cool. We saw the Wienermobile. That was awesome. Uh, but yeah, like I mean, most of my stuff is right now in Michigan, but I'm gonna be traveling everywhere. I think I'm gonna try like this year. I want to hit the road. So hopefully I find another day job that doesn't suck, and we can make this shit happen.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Appreciate you coming through, bro. Like I said, man, I've watched your journey, and I'm proud of where you're at. Can't wait to see where you keep going. Next time I'm in town, hopefully you got a show so I can come, check out the new material. Because you have upgrades to the show every time I come. There's something new that I'm like, oh, I haven't heard that one before. Okay, like you have some of the classics that you've worked on and kind of perfected over the years, but you always bless me with something new when I come to town too. So, I can't wait for that. But thanks for coming on the show once again.
Appreciate you, homie. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Once again, this is Shane G. Politics as usual, right here on the Ethos Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe for all the latest content. Until next time, peace.